Imagine hiding a pregnancy from the man who stole your company, then accidentally hugging the one billionaire who can burn his empire down. Tonight, meet Elena Matthews, 7 months along, one eviction notice from ruin, and a viral photo with the world's most reclusive tech legend. What starts as a desperate cover becomes a war. A stolen health app exposed line by line, a fiancé who isn't a fiancé, she's FBI, an arson fire at midnight, and a courtroom tackle that rewrites who family really is. When a deepfake tries to erase her truth, 12 women step into the light, and a live stream turns a predator's legacy into dust. Who owns the code? Who owns the narrative? And how do you protect a newborn when the villain wants custody of a child he sees as an heir, not a human? Stay with me to the end for the hospital miracle, the legal checkmate, and the one quiet confession that turns a fake boyfriend into home. If this has you hooked, tap like to boost the story, drop your boldest prediction in the comments, share it with a friend who loves twisty justice, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the reveal and the fallout. Elena Matthews stood in the doorway of her Brooklyn apartment, staring at the yellow paper taped to her door. 7 months pregnant, teaching coding at a community college after losing everything in her divorce. And now this. The eviction notice trembled in her hands as she read the new building owner's name. Adrian Matthews Holdings, LLC. Her ex-husband had bought her building. 30 days, she whispered to her belly, feeling the baby kick in response. We have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. The cruelty was so perfectly Adrian. Not content with taking her startup, her savings, her dignity, now he wanted to control where she lived. Elena forced herself to breathe slowly, the way her doctor recommended to keep her blood pressure down. Stress wasn't good for the baby, but stress was all she had these days. Her phone buzzed with a reminder that made her stomach drop further. Hamilton Pharmaceutical Annual Gala, 7 p.m. mandatory attendance. The community college where she taught received significant funding from Hamilton Pharma, which meant from Adrian, their new director of digital innovation. Missing the gala meant risking her job, her only source of income. Elena changed into the one formal dress that still fit, a navy blue creation that strategically draped over her pregnancy bump. In the mirror, she looked tired but presentable. No one at work knew about the baby. She'd been careful, wearing loose cardigans and staying behind her desk. Tonight would be her biggest challenge yet. The crystal ballroom at the Ritz-Carlton gleamed with ostentatious wealth. Ice sculptures shaped like DNA helixes decorated every corner. Elena kept to the edges, nursing a glass of sparkling water, counting the minutes until she could leave. Then the crowd parted, and her blood turned to ice. Adrian stood at the microphone, his new fiancée, Cassandra Wells, draped on his arm like an expensive accessory. At 38, he still commanded attention with his sharp jawline and perfectly styled dark hair. The kind of man who looked like success itself. Ladies and gentlemen, Adrian announced, his voice carrying that familiar, arrogant cadence, I'm thrilled to announce 2 celebrations tonight. First, my engagement to the beautiful Cassandra Wells. Polite applause rippled through the crowd. Elena's hands instinctively moved to shield her belly. And second, Adrian continued, his smile widening, the launch of Hamilton Pharma's revolutionary health app, MedConnect, which will transform how patients manage their prescriptions and wellness data. The presentation screen lit up behind him, and Elena's knees nearly buckled. The interface, the code structure, even the color scheme. It was her app, the one she'd spent 3 years developing before their marriage imploded. He'd stolen it piece by piece and now claimed it as his own. Adrian's eyes swept the crowd and locked onto hers. His smile sharpened into something predatory. He whispered something to Cassandra, who looked in Elena's direction and laughed, a tinkling sound that carried across the room. They started walking toward her. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. She couldn't let him see. If Adrian discovered the pregnancy, he'd either deny the child was his or worse, claim it for his legacy. Either way, she'd lose everything that mattered. In her peripheral vision, she noticed a tall man standing alone by the terrace doors, facing away from the crowd. Dark hair, broad shoulders in an expensive suit, completely still like he was trying to disappear into the wallpaper. Without thinking, driven by pure survival instinct, Elena walked straight to him. Darling, she said loudly, wrapping her arms around him from behind, pressing her body against his back to hide her bump. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." The stranger went rigid. For a terrifying moment, Elena thought he might push her away. Then his hand covered hers, gentle but firm. "I needed some air," he said, his voice deep with an unusual cadence, slightly monotone. "Too many people." Elena risked a glance back. Adrian had stopped mid-stride, his face contorting with confusion and something else. Rage. Cassandra tugged at his arm, whispering urgently. "Play along," Elena whispered desperately to the stranger. "Please, just for a few minutes." The man turned slowly, and Elena got her first look at Gabriel Sterling's face. Sharp cheekbones, gray eyes that seemed to process everything like a computer. An expression of mild discomfort that suggested he'd rather be anywhere else. She recognized him vaguely. Tech billionaire, famously reclusive, occasionally photographed at events looking deeply uncomfortable. "Elena," Adrian's voice cut through her thoughts. He'd approached despite Cassandra's attempts to redirect him. What an unexpected surprise. Gabriel's arm moved around Elena's waist, his touch careful, clinical almost. "Adrian Matthews," he said, not a question but a statement. Director of Digital Innovation. Previously sued 3 startups for alleged intellectual property theft. Interesting strategy. Adrian's jaw clenched. "Have we met?" "No," Gabriel replied simply. "I just make it a point to know who profits from other people's work." The tension crackled between them. Cassandra laughed nervously, trying to diffuse the situation. "Adrian, darling, the investors are waiting for you." "In a moment," Adrian said. Ade said, his eyes never leaving Elena's face. "Elena and I have history, don't we, dear?" "Ancient history," Elena managed, grateful for Gabriel's steady presence beside her. "Congratulations on your engagement and your new app." Adrian's smile turned cruel. "Yes, MedConnect is revolutionary. Years in the making. Some people contribute ideas, but it takes real vision to bring them to life." Gabriel's fingers tightened imperceptibly on Elena's waist. "Interesting. The code structure looks remarkably similar to Elena's senior project from MIT, the one that won the Turing Award. What was it called?" He paused, his tone completely flat. "HealthBridge, I believe." Elena stared at him in shock. How did he know about that? Adrian's face flushed. Coincidences happen in tech. Similar minds, similar solutions. A coincidence of 60,000 lines of identical code would be statistically impossible, Gabriel said in the same emotionless tone. "But I'm sure your lawyers have advised you on that." Before Adrian could respond, his phone buzzed urgently. He glanced at it, his expression darkening. "This conversation isn't over," he said, then stormed off with Cassandra trailing behind. Elena finally released Gabriel, stepping back with shaking hands. "I'm so sorry," she breathed. "I didn't mean to. I was desperate and—" "You're having a panic attack," Gabriel observed, his gray eyes studying her with peculiar intensity. "Your breathing is elevated, pupils dilated, hands trembling. You should sit down." He guided her to a chair on the terrace, then stood at a careful distance, his posture stiff. Elena realized he was deeply uncomfortable with the physical contact they'd just shared. "Thank you," she said once her breathing steadied. "I don't usually assault strangers at parties." "That wasn't assault, it was a defensive maneuver," Gabriel corrected. Adrian Matthews was approaching with hostile intent. "You recognized a threat and responded, though hugging a stranger is an unusual tactical choice." Despite everything, Elena almost laughed. "It worked, didn't it?" Temporarily, Gabriel pulled out his phone, frowning at the screen. Although it's created an unexpected complication. He showed her his screen. Her heart sank. Multiple social media posts, all variations of the same photo. Her embracing Gabriel, his arm around her waist, both of them looking intimately connected. The headlines were already spinning out of control. Tech's most eligible bachelor finally taken, and mystery woman captures Gabriel Sterling's heart. "Oh God," Elena breathed. "I'm so sorry. I've dragged you into my mess." Gabriel studied the screen with the same detached interest he might show a code problem. "It's not ideal. I don't like attention. But Adrian Matthews is more problematic. He's stolen from 12 female founders that I know of. Your case makes 13. Elena's head snapped up. "What? How do you know?" Pattern recognition is a specialty of mine, Gabriel said. Also, I've been tracking him since he destroyed my mentor's company 5 years ago. Richard Hayes, brilliant programmer. Adrian stole his compression algorithm, claimed it as his own. Richard fought back, lost everything, killed himself last spring. The words were delivered without emotion, but Elena saw something flicker in those gray eyes. Pain, carefully controlled. I'm sorry, she said softly. Gabriel nodded curtly. Adrian Matthews destroys people systematically. You're pregnant with his child, which complicates your situation significantly. Elena's hand flew to her bump. How did you... The way you positioned yourself when you hugged me, the specific angle to hide your abdomen, the loose dress designed to obscure. I notice patterns, he said simply. He doesn't know? No, and he can't. He'll either deny it's his or try to take the baby. Either way, her voice cracked. Gabriel was quiet for a moment, processing. Then he pulled out his phone again. My car's outside. You should leave before he returns. I'll have my driver take you home. I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. Adrian Matthews has taken enough from people. He paused, his expression shifting minutely. Besides, the media will expect us to leave together now. We've accidentally created a narrative. As they walked through the ballroom, every eye followed them. Phones raised, capturing every moment. Elena felt like prey being stalked, but Gabriel moved with purpose, his presence somehow creating a buffer around them. In the car, Elena finally allowed herself to cry, silent tears of exhaustion, fear, and strange relief. Gabriel sat at the far end of the seat, maintaining careful distance, but his presence was oddly comforting. You knew my code, she said finally. How? I studied it when you won the Turing Award. There's elegant architecture, very efficient. I've actually implemented some of your compression techniques in my own systems. He paused. I should have paid you licensing fees. I'll have my accounting department calculate what I owe. The absurdity of it, this billionaire casually offering to pay her for code techniques while she was being evicted, made Elena laugh through her tears. What? Gabriel asked, seeming genuinely puzzled. Nothing, it's just this whole night is surreal. Gabriel nodded as if that made perfect sense. Adrian will retaliate. He doesn't handle public humiliation well. You should be prepared. The car stopped outside her building. Elena saw the eviction notice still taped to her door, yellow and condemning in the streetlight. He bought my building, she said quietly. The eviction notice was waiting for me today. Gabriel followed her gaze. Predictable. He's trying to control your environment, limit your options. He pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. I own several residential properties in Brooklyn. 3 are currently vacant. You can relocate to any of them. No lease required. I can't accept that. It's not charity, it's strategic disruption of Adrian's plan. I find his behavior offensive to efficient systems. Gabriel's expression remained neutral, but there was something beneath it, a kind of analytical rage. Besides, you'll need stable housing for your child. Elena's throat tightened. This strange, awkward man had shown her more kindness in 2 hours than she'd experienced in months. Why are you helping me? Gabriel considered the question with unusual focus. Richard Hayes helped me once, when I was young and didn't understand how to navigate social situations. He taught me that brilliance without kindness is just another form of system failure. He met her eyes briefly, then looked away. Adrian killed him. I couldn't save Richard, but I can help you. Elena woke to her phone exploding with notifications. The photos from last night had gone viral, truly viral. Her hugging Gabriel was everywhere, from tech blogs to gossip sites. The coding forums, where she sometimes found freelance work, were dissecting every pixel, trying to identify the mystery woman who captured the impossible man. She sat up in bed, her back aching, the baby performing what felt like gymnastics against her ribs. 30 days to move, her career hanging by a thread, and now the entire internet was speculating about her non-existent relationship with Gabriel Sterling. Her laptop chimed with an email from the college. Please see me immediately regarding last night's events. Dean Morrison. Elena's stomach dropped. She dressed carefully in her loosest cardigan and headed to campus, trying to ignore the stares from everyone she passed. In the subway, two women were scrolling through the photos on their phones, giggling about Gabriel's secret girlfriend. Dean Morrison's office smelled like coffee and disappointment. He sat behind his desk, tablet prominently displaying the viral photos. Ms. Matthews, he began, using her married name, though she'd asked him repeatedly not to. Hamilton Pharmaceutical has expressed concerns about your appearance at their gala last night. I attended as required, Elena said carefully. Yes, but your behavior with Mr. Sterling has raised questions about the college's reputation. We rely heavily on Hamilton's funding, as you know. Adrian Matthews personally called this morning. Of course he did, Elena muttered. He suggested that someone who conducts themselves so publicly might not be the best role model for our students. Elena felt the familiar burn of injustice. Dean Morrison, I've never missed a class. My students' completion rates are the highest in the department. My personal life became our concern when you made a spectacle at our largest donors event. He slid a paper across the desk. I'm not terminating you, but consider this a formal warning. Any further incidents that compromise our relationship with Hamilton and will need to reevaluate your position. Elena left the meeting feeling hollowed out. Adrian's reach extended everywhere, poisoning every space she tried to exist in. She taught her morning class on autopilot. The students mercifully focused on their code rather than their infamous instructor. During lunch break, she decided to go home and work on job applications. She needed backup plans, multiple escape routes. But when she reached her apartment door, she found it ajar, the lock broken. Fear flooded her system. Elena pushed the door open slowly, her phone already dialing 911, then stopped. Her apartment was destroyed. Not ransacked, methodically destroyed. Her furniture was slashed, belongings scattered and broken. Her art supplies, the only remnant of her pre-Adrian life, were smashed and paint smeared across the walls. And her laptop, her lifeline, containing all her code, her evidence of Adrian's theft, was in pieces on the kitchen floor, the hard drive removed. On the wall, spray-painted in red, thief. Elena's legs gave out. She sank to the floor, phone falling from numb fingers. Everything she'd worked to rebuild, every piece of evidence she'd carefully saved, gone. Elena, a voice from the doorway. She looked up to find David Mitchell, her former business partner, standing there with what looked like genuine shock. Christ, what happened? David? She hadn't seen him since the divorce proceedings when he'd testified that she'd been an unstable presence in their startup. What are you doing here? I came to... He stopped, taking in the destruction. We need to get you out of here. This isn't safe. Did Adrian send you? Her voice was hollow. David's face twisted. No. I mean, not for this. Elena, He helped her to her feet. Look, I know I screwed you over. What I did during the divorce was wrong. But this? He gestured at the destruction. This is insane, even for Adrian. Elena pulled away from him. You helped him steal everything. My company, my reputation. I know, and I'm sorry. But right now, you need to wait fictive. Adrian's lost it since last night. The whole Gabriel Sterling thing has him spiraling. He called me at 3 a.m. ranting about destroying you completely. So you came to what? Warn me? Clear your conscience? David pulled out his phone, showing her a text thread with Adrian. The messages were increasingly unhinged, talking about teaching Elena her place and making sure she never codes again. He's beyond reason, David said. And if he finds out you're pregnant? Elena's hand flew to her belly. How do you? I'm not blind, Elena. Neither is Adrian. If he'd stop raging long enough to actually look at you. David glanced around nervously. You need protection, real protection, not just changing apartments. Elena's phone buzzed. Gabriel's name appeared on the screen. Security cameras at your building were disabled remotely at 10:47 a.m. Gabriel's voice was calm but clipped. Are you safe? My apartment someone broke in, destroyed everything. I'm 3 minutes away. Don't touch anything. Don't let anyone else in. David heard the exchange. Sterling, you're actually with him? It's complicated. Everything with you always was. David's expression softened. For what it's worth, the code Adrian stole? I kept copies of the original documentation. Emails, timestamps. Version histories. I thought maybe someday I'd grow enough spine to do the right thing. Elena stared at him. You have proof? Hidden in about 12 different places. Adrian doesn't know. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. This is one copy. Consider it a very late apology. Before Elena could respond, Gabriel appeared in the doorway, taking in the scene with those analytical eyes. His gaze lingered on David, categorizing, threat assessing. David Mitchell, Gabriel stated, former CTO of Matthews Digital Solutions, testified against Elena in divorce proceedings. Currently employed by Hamilton Pharmaceutical. David shifted uncomfortably. And you're Gabriel Sterling, the ghost of Silicon Valley. I prefer selective participant. Gabriel moved past him to examine the destroyed laptop. Professional data destruction. They knew exactly which components to target. He looked at Elena. We should leave. The police won't find anything useful, and staying here serves no strategic purpose. I was just leaving, David said, but Gabriel blocked his path. The flash drive you gave her. What's on it? David's jaw clenched. Proof that Adrian stole Elena's code. Everything. Gabriel studied him with that unsettling intensity. Why now? Guilt is insufficient motivation for someone who stayed silent this long. Because Adrian's going to destroy her completely. And the baby... David stopped. I have kids of my own now, 2 daughters. I think about them growing up in a world where men like Adrian can just take whatever they want from brilliant women like Elena. I helped create that world. Maybe I can help tear it down a little. Gabriel processed this, then nodded once. Send copies to this email. He handed David a card. Multiple formats. Include any correspondence about the other women Adrian's targeted. Other women? 12 that I've documented. Elena makes 13. David paled. Jesus, I knew about 3, maybe 4. I didn't realize. He took the card. I'll send everything tonight. After David left, Gabriel stood in the center of Elena's destroyed apartment, cataloging details with mechanical precision. Elena sank onto the slashed couch, exhaustion overwhelming her. This escalation is significant, Gabriel said. He's moving from financial manipulation to physical intimidation. You can't stay in Brooklyn. I can't just leave. My job, my doctors. Your job is already compromised. Dean Morrison will terminate you within 2 weeks. Adrian will ensure it. As for medical care, I have a house in Connecticut. Full staff, including a nurse. Private, secure, with excellent hospital access. Elena looked at him. The strange man who spoke like a computer, but had shown up within minutes when she needed help. Why Connecticut? It's where I live. Security is easier to manage there. Also, I don't like having conversations in destroyed apartments. The chaos is distracting. Despite everything, Elena found herself almost smiling. You're not very good at this, are you? The whole comforting thing? No, Gabriel admitted. I'm terrible at it, but I'm excellent at solving problems. And you, Elena Matthews, have problems that require solving. She looked around her ruined life, her hand pressed protective against her belly. What if Adrian finds out about the baby? Then we ensure he's in no position to do anything about it. Gabriel's voice carried an edge she hadn't heard before. He took Richard from me. He won't take anything from you. The drive to Connecticut took 2 hours, though it felt like crossing into another world. Elena dozed fitfully in the backseat of Gabriel's car, her body finally succumbing to the exhaustion of stress and pregnancy. She woke as they turned through massive iron gates, winding up a private drive lined with cameras and subtle security measures. Gabriel's house wasn't what she expected. Instead of some sterile, modern mansion, it was a renovated farmhouse, expanded thoughtfully over the years. Warm lights glowed in the windows against the approaching dusk. You seem surprised, Gabriel observed, helping her from the car with careful, minimal contact. I expected something more. Cold, geometric? People usually do. He led her inside. I like organic architecture, predictable systems with natural variations. It's soothing. The interior was a fascinating mix of high-tech and homey. State-of-the-art security panels next to paintings of fractals that somehow looked like landscapes. A kitchen that belonged in a magazine, with a well-worn reading chair positioned perfectly to catch morning light. Margaret, Gabriel called, and an older woman appeared wearing scrubs and a kind smile. "This is Margaret Collins, my household nurse. She also manages the staff. Margaret, this is Elena Matthews. She'll be staying indefinitely. She's approximately 7 months pregnant and has been under significant stress." Margaret's professional assessment was quick but warm. "Welcome, dear. Let's get you settled. Then I'll do a quick check. Blood pressure, baby's heart rate, just to establish baselines." Elena wanted to protest. She couldn't afford private nursing care. But Gabriel had already disappeared into what looked like an office. His attention shifted entirely to multiple computer screens. Margaret led her upstairs to a suite that was bigger than her entire apartment. "Mr. Sterling prepared this yesterday," she said, opening curtains to reveal a view of gardens and woods. "He said you'd need workspace." In the corner was a complete coding setup. 3 monitors, ergonomic everything, the kind of equipment Elena had dreamed of but could never afford. "He did this yesterday, but he didn't know." "Mr. Sterling processes information differently than most," Margaret said diplomatically. "When he decides something, he implements it fully." "Tea? You look like you could use it." Over chamomile tea and the most comfortable chair Elena had ever sat in, Margaret checked her vitals with equipment that belonged in a hospital. "Blood pressure's too high," Margaret said gently. "When did you last see your OB?" 2 weeks ago. I've been trying to save money." "None of that here. I'll schedule you with Dr. Harrison tomorrow. She's the best maternal fetal medicine specialist in the state. Don't worry about cost. Mr. Sterling has excellent insurance that covers household members." "I'm not a household member. I'm just—" Elena stopped. What was she exactly? Margaret patted her hand to Brian. "You're someone Mr. Sterling has decided to protect. In the 5 years I've worked here, he's never brought anyone to stay. That makes you significant." That evening, Elena found Gabriel in his office, surrounded by screens showing code, financial documents, and what looked like surveillance footage. "You're tracking Adrian," she said, "among other things." He pulled up a chair for her. He'd clearly been expecting her. "David Mitchell sent the documentation. It's comprehensive. With this, we can prove Adrian stole not just from you, but from multiple sources. We should go to the authorities." "We will. But first, we need to ensure you're protected. Adrian has been building a case that you're mentally unstable. These are posts he's prepared, but not yet published." Gabrielle showed her screenshots, fabricated stories about Elena's breakdown, her obsession with her ex-husband, even doctored photos suggesting drug use. Elena's stomach churned. "He's going to destroy me completely." "No," Gabriel said simply. "He's going to treatment. There's a significant difference." He pulled up another screen showing 12 women's faces. "These are Adrian's other victims. I've been in contact with 8 of them. They're willing to come forward if we can guarantee their safety." "Safety from what?" "Adrian destroys women who threaten him. Not just professionally, personally. 2 attempted suicide. 3 left tech entirely. 1 disappeared. Her family hasn't heard from her in 2 years. Elena stared at the faces, brilliant women, all young, all with that same haunted look she saw in her own mirror. "Why does he target women specifically?" Gabriel pulled up a psychological profile. "Pattern suggests a combination of misogyny and strategic selection. Female founders receive less than 3% of venture capital. They're already vulnerable in the system. Adrian exploits that vulnerability." "You've really studied him." "I study all my enemies." Gabriel's fingers moved across the keyboard with surgical precision. "It started with Richard, but Adrian was just a symptom. The whole system enables predators like him." Elena watched him work, noting the intensity of his focus. "Do you ever stop? Analyzing, calculating?" "No," Gabriel said without hesitation. "It's how my brain works. Constant pattern recognition, probability calculations, strategic planning. It's why I'm good at what I do. It's also why I live here instead of Silicon Valley. Too much input there. Input. Too many variables. Doesn't it get lonely?" Gabriel paused, considering. "I don't process loneliness the same way others do. Solitude is comfortable. People are," he searched for words, "exhausting. Except occasionally, you're not exhausting." It was perhaps the oddest compliment Elena had ever received, but something about his complete honesty was refreshing after years of Adrian's manipulation. I should let you work, she said, standing. Stay if you want. Your presence isn't disruptive. So she did, settling into a corner with her laptop, working on rebuilding her code from memory, while Gabriel waged digital war against Adrian. The comfortable silence was broken only by typing and the occasional question about syntax or structure. Around midnight, Margaret appeared with soup and protective scolding. Both of you need rest. Mr. Sterling, you have that investor call at 7. Ms. Matthews, you have a doctor's appointment at 9. Gabriel saved his work with obvious reluctance. As they walked upstairs, he paused at Elena's door. Adrian will escalate when he can't find you, he said. Are you prepared for that? I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. You could negotiate with him. Give him what he wants. Elena's hand went to her belly. Never. Gabriel nodded, apparently satisfied with this answer. Then we proceed with complete destruction of his reputation and resources. Good night, Elena. As her door closed, Elena realized that for the first time in months, she felt safe, protected not by charm or false promises, but by someone whose strange, brilliant mind saw the world as clearly as code and had decided she was worth defending. 2 weeks passed in Gabriel's Connecticut sanctuary. Elena's blood pressure stabilized, the baby grew stronger, and her code reconstruction progressed faster than she'd dared hope. The other women, Adrian's victims, had started an encrypted group chat, sharing their stories, building a case that even Adrian's lawyers couldn't dismiss. Then came the breakthrough. Elena! Gabriel appeared in her workspace, actually showing excitement, or his version of it, which meant speaking 5% faster than usual. Cassandra Wells wants to meet. Adrian's fiancée, unknown, but she insisted on meeting you specifically. Today, in public. Elena felt the familiar dread creeping back. It's a trap. Possibly. Probability is 40-60, but Margaret will accompany you and I'll have security nearby. They met at a small cafe in Westport. Cassandra looked different, tired, her perfect makeup unable to hide the stress lines. She stood when Elena approached, her hand going to her own stomach in an unconsciously protective gesture. You're pregnant too, Elena said, shocked. Cassandra's laugh was bitter. 3 months. Adrian doesn't know. He can never know. They sat, 2 pregnant women on opposite sides of Adrian's war, while Margaret positioned herself at a nearby table. Why did you want to meet? Elena asked. Cassandra pulled out a phone, not her usual designer one, but a cheap burner. Because I know what he is now, what he does. She slid the phone across. Everything's on there. Recordings, emails, financial documents. Adrian doesn't know I've been collecting evidence. Elena scrolled through, her eyes widening. This is enough to bury him. Financial fraud, tax evasion, and worse. Cassandra's voice dropped. There are recordings of him discussing how to handle you. Permanently. Elena's blood went cold. He wants to not kill you, but destroy you so completely you might wish he had. Cassandra met her eyes. I'm FBI, Elena. I've been undercover for 2 years, investigating Adrian's connections to international money laundering. The cafe seemed to spin. You're what? Agent Cassandra Wells. Wells is my cover name. She pulled out a badge, showed it discreetly. We were close to arresting him, but then you happened. That hug with Sterling sent Adrian into a spiral. He's making mistakes, getting sloppy. So you're using me as bait? No, I'm trying to protect you while salvaging a 2-year operation. Cassandra's hand went to her stomach again. This baby wasn't planned. If Adrian finds out, my cover's blown and we lose everything. But I can't. I won't let him near my child. Elena saw the same fear she lived with daily reflected in Cassandra's eyes. What do you need from me? Keep him focused on you and Gabriel. Make him believe he's winning while we gather final evidence. Can you do that? Before Elena could answer, her phone exploded with notifications. Gabriel's name appeared. Get out, now! Adrian knows where you are. Through the window, Elena saw Adrian's Tesla pulling up. Cassandra grabbed the burner phone, stood smoothly. Follow my lead, she whispered, then raised her voice. You stay away from my fiancé, you desperate little... Adrian burst through the door, taking in the scene. Cassandra, what's going on? I was telling your ex to keep her distance, Cassandra said, seamlessly shifting into the role of jealous fiancé. Those photos with Sterling? Pathetic attempt to make you jealous. Adrian's eyes locked onto Elena, and for the first time his gaze dropped to her belly. The cardigan had shifted when she stood. Understanding dawned on his face. "You're pregnant," he said, voice deadly quiet. The cafe went silent. Other patrons stared. Margaret stood, moving closer. "It's not yours," Elena said quickly. 7 months along, Adrian calculated, his expression shifting from shock to rage as something worse, satisfaction. "That's my child." "No, my heir, my legacy." He stepped closer. "You thought you could hide this from me? My own flesh and blood?" Cassandra grabbed his arm. "Adrian, people are watching." He shook her off. "Shut up. This changes everything." He pulled out his phone, started recording. "Let the record show Elena Matthews has been hiding my child. 7 months pregnant, clearly unstable, living with another man." "Stop," Elena said, but Adrian kept recording. "Judge Morrison will love this. Mother deliberately concealing pregnancy from father, exposing unborn child distress, shacking up with..." Gabriel appeared in the doorway, silent, imposing, his presence changing the entire dynamic. "Ms. Matthews' ride is here," he said calmly. "We should leave." Adrian turned on him. "Sterling, of course, playing house with my wife, my child." "Ex-wife," Gabriel corrected, "and legal paternity hasn't been established." "It will be. I'll have court orders by morning, custody arrangements, supervised visits until the birth, then full custody transfer based on Elena's obvious instability." "Based on what evidence?" Gabriel asked, genuinely curious. "She's homeless, jobless, clinging to random billionaires at parties. She has housing, employment as a freelance coder, and a support system. You have a documented history of abuse, abandonment, and theft of intellectual property." Gabriel tilted his head. "Also, Agent Wells might have opinions about your fitness as a father." The silence was deafening. Adrian turned slowly to Cassandra, whose face had gone pale. "What did you call her?" Cassandra straightened, and Elena saw the federal agent emerge from behind the socialite mask. "Adrian Matthews, you're under surveillance for suspected money laundering, fraud, and conspiracy. I suggest you contact your lawyer." Adrian's face contorted with rage. You're..." He lunged at Cassandra. Gabriel moved faster than Elena had ever seen him move, inserting himself between them. Adrian's fist connected with Gabriel's shoulder instead of Cassandra's face. "Assault," Gabriel noted calmly. "Multiple witnesses, that was unwise." At Bond, police sirens were already approaching. Margaret had called them the moment Adrian appeared. But Adrian wasn't done. As the officers entered, he smiled. That cold, calculating smile Elena knew too well. "I want a paternity test," he announced loudly, "and a psychiatric evaluation for Elena. She's clearly delusional, endangering my child." Even as they cuffed him for assault, Adrian kept talking, performing for the phones now recording everything. "I'm a concerned father trying to protect his unborn child from an unstable mother. This is kidnapping, false imprisonment. I'll have every lawyer in New York on this." As they dragged him away, he locked eyes with Elena. "This isn't over. That baby is mine. And I get what's mine." Gabriel guided Elena to his car, Margaret and Cassandra following. Inside, Elena finally broke down, sobbing into her hands. He knows about the baby. He'll never stop now." "Good," Gabriel said, surprising her. "When predators become obsessed, they make mistakes. Adrian just made several." "But the custody threat won't succeed. Agent Wells, how long until federal arrest?" Cassandra, now fully in agent mode, calculated. 48 hours if he keeps spiraling like this. "But Elena, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen this way." "You saved her," Gabriel said simply. "Your presence prevented him from getting violent with Elena. The assault charge helps our case." "Our case?" Elena looked at him through tears. "The 12 women have agreed to file a class action suit. With David's evidence and Agent Wells's investigation, Adrian won't be practicing law from federal prison." For a moment, Elena felt hope. Then her phone buzzed with a news alert. "Tech executive fights for custody of unborn child. Mother's stability questioned." The story was already going viral. complete with photos from today's confrontation. Adrian might be heading to jail, but he was going to destroy her reputation first. The media explosion was immediate and vicious. Within hours, Elena's face was everywhere, painted as either a gold digger using her pregnancy to trap rich men or an unstable woman endangering her child. Adrian, even from custody, had his PR team working overtime. Gabriel's house became a fortress under siege. Reporters camped at the gates. Drones buzzed overhead until Gabriel's security shot them down. Elena couldn't even stand by a window without telephoto lenses catching her. "I've become a prisoner," she said on day 3 of the media circus, watching the news paint her as everything from mentally ill to a master manipulator. Gabriel looked up from his screens where he was coordinating with lawyers. Temporary siege. Adrian's creating noise to distract from the federal investigation. But it was working. The judge granted Adrian's request for an emergency custody hearing in 2 days. Elena's lawyers were confident until they learned which judge had been assigned. Morrison, her lawyer said grimly, conservative, traditional values, tough on mothers he deems unfit. Adrian judge shopped, Gabriel said. Morrison's received campaign contributions from Hamilton Pharmaceutical. Can we prove bias? Not in 2 days. Elena felt the walls closing in. That night she couldn't sleep, pacing her room while the baby kicked restlessly. Around 3 a.m., she found Gabriel still awake in his office. "You should rest," he said without looking up. "Can't. Keep thinking about losing her." "Her?" "The baby. Found out yesterday at the appointment. It's a girl." Gabriel finally looked at her. "Congratulations." "For what? Bringing a daughter into this nightmare?" Elena slumped in a chair. "Maybe Adrian's right. Maybe I am unstable. What kind of mother puts her child through this?" "A protective one." Gabriel's voice was certain. "You're fighting a predator to keep your daughter safe. That's not instability. That's evolution-approved behavior. Sometimes I think it would be easier to just give up. Let him win." "No," Gabriel said sharply, the most emotion she had heard from him. "That's the exhaustion talking. Adrian wins by making people believe they're weak. You're not weak. You coded a revolutionary health platform from nothing. You survived his abuse. You're rebuilding despite him destroying everything. That's not weak." "Why do you care so much?" Elena asked. "Really, not the Richard story. Why me?" Gabriel was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Because you hugged me." Elena blinked. "What?" "At the gala, you were terrified, desperate, and you chose to trust me, a complete stranger. No one's ever trusted me that instantly. Most people find me," he paused, "unsettling." "You are a little unsettling," Elena said softly, "but you still trusted me. In that moment, you saw me as safety, not threat. That's," he struggled for words, "that's never happened before." Before Elena could respond, alarms started blaring. Gabriel's screens lit up with security warnings. "Fire," he said, already moving. "East wing." They ran through the house, Margaret meeting them in the hallway. Smoke was already visible, flames licking at the windows of what had been Elena's original room. "Everyone out," Gabriel commanded, but Elena was already moving, grabbing the hard drives with reconstructed code, the evidence binders. "Leave it," Gabriel shouted. "This is all we have against him." The smoke thickened. Elena's lungs burned. She heard Gabriel calling her name but pushed forward, grabbing the last drive. Then the ceiling creaked ominously. Gabriel appeared through the smoke, pulling her bodily from the room as burning timber crashed where she'd been standing. They stumbled outside where fire trucks were already arriving. "You could have died," Gabriel said, his calm completely shattered. "The baby, you. That was incredibly stupid. I saved the evidence." "Evidence is worthless if you're dead." He was actually yelling. Elena had never heard him raise his voice. "It's very welcome. I'm sorry, no, you don't." He turned away, hands shaking. "When I saw you run into the fire, I thought, Richard died alone. I can't watch that again." Elena touched his arm gently. "I'm okay. We're okay." The fire chief approached. Accelerant in multiple locations. This was arson. Gabriel's phone rang, Adrian's lawyer. "Terrible news about the fire," the oily voice said on speaker. Judge Morrison will be very concerned about Ms. Matthews' living situation. Perhaps we should discuss settlement terms. Gabriel hung up, turned to Elena. He's escalating to actual violence. He burned down your house. Partial damage to one wing, but he crossed a line. Gabriel pulled out his phone. Time to end this. What are you implementing nuclear option? He typed rapidly. Every piece of dirty money Adrian's touched, every crime he's committed. I'm releasing it all. To prosecutors, media, everyone. But Cassandra's case, Adrian just committed arson while out on bail. The case is blown anyway. He looked at Elena. Unless you object? Elena thought of the flames. What could have happened if the smoke had reached her room while she slept? Her hand went to her belly, feeling her daughter kick. End him, she said. The emergency custody hearing arrived with Elena running on pure adrenaline. No sleep, stress-induced contractions that Margaret monitored constantly, and the knowledge that Adrian had literally tried to burn them out made everything feel surreal. But walking into the courtroom, Elena felt a strange calm. Gabriel sat beside her, having somehow gotten himself listed as a witness. The 12 women Adrian had victimized filled the gallery. David Mitchell was in the witness list. Even Cassandra was there, officially as Adrian's fiancée, but actually as FBI. Adrian entered in his perfect suit, smiling like he'd already won. His lawyer, Richardson, was known for destroying mothers in custody battles. Your Honor, Richardson began, we're here because Ms. Matthews has deliberately hidden her pregnancy from my client, exposed the unborn child to danger including a recent fire, and shown extremely poor judgment in her associations. Judge Morrison nodded, already looking sympathetic to Adrian. Ms. Matthews, you concealed this pregnancy for 7 months. Elena's lawyer started to object, but Elena stood. Your Honor, I was protecting my child from a man who abandoned me while pregnant, stole my life's work, and has systematically destroyed women in tech for years. That's slander, Richardson started. It's documented fact. Gabriel stood, pulling out a tablet. I have evidence of 12 cases of intellectual property theft, 3 cases of assault, and a pattern of targeting pregnant employees for termination. Morrison frowned. Mr. Sterling, you're not a lawyer. I'm someone with relevant evidence. May I present it? Your Honor, this is irregular, Richardson protested. So is arson, Gabriel said calmly. The fire at my home 2 nights ago was set using accelerant purchased with a credit card in Adrian Matthews' name. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Adrian's face flushed. That's impossible. Is it? Cassandra stood up. Because I have the receipt. Adrian turned on her, rage contorting his features. You're supposed to be on my side. I'm supposed to uphold the law. She pulled out her badge. Agent Cassandra Wells, FBI. Adrian Matthews, you're under arrest for arson, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The courtroom erupted. Morrison banged his gavel futilely as federal agents entered, moving toward Adrian. But Adrian wasn't done. With a roar of rage, he lunged across the courtroom. Not at Cassandra, but at Elena. His hands reached for her throat. Gabriel moved instinctively, putting himself between them. Adrian's momentum sent both men crashing into the barrier. Gabriel's head hit the wooden rail with a sickening crack. Gabriel! Elena screamed. Security swarmed Adrian, pulling him back as he screamed threats. That's my baby, my heir. You can't take what's mine. Gabriel lay still, blood pooling beneath his head. Margaret pushed through, immediately checking his vitals. Ambulance, now, she commanded. Elena dropped beside Gabriel, tears streaming. Please, please wake up. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. Elena? I'm here. He struggled to focus. Did I protect you? Yes. Yes, you protected us. A tiny smile crossed his face before his eyes closed again. The EMTs arrived, loading Gabriel onto a stretcher. Elena tried to follow, but sudden pain doubled her over. Warm fluid ran down her legs. My water, she gasped. The baby, it's too early. Margaret caught her. 34 weeks isn't too early, but we need to get you to the hospital now. As they rushed Elena out on another stretcher, she saw Adrian being dragged away in handcuffs, still screaming. Judge Morrison sat stunned at his bench. The entire courtroom puddled in chaos. Gabriel, Elena called out. but he was already in an ambulance racing away. In her own ambulance, between contractions, Elena heard Cassandra on the phone. Complete disaster. Cover blown. Matthews in custody. Two medical emergencies. Another contraction hit, stealing her breath. Her daughter was coming 6 weeks early. Gabriel might have brain damage, and Adrian's empire was finally crumbling. But all Elena could think about was Gabriel's blood on the courtroom floor, spilled protecting her, and a child that wasn't even his. The hospital room became Elena's whole world. Contractions, monitors, Margaret's steady presence. But her mind was drifting to Gabriel, somewhere in this same building, condition unknown. 7 centimeters, the doctor announced. Few more hours. Gabriel Sterling, Elena gasped between contractions. He was brought in. Head injury. I need to know. Margaret squeezed her hand. He's in surgery. Subdural hematoma. But the neurosurgeon is optimistic. Another contraction tore through her. The pain was nothing compared to the thought of Gabriel dying because he'd protected her. Hours blurred together. Cassandra appeared briefly, still in her FBI jacket. Adrian's being held without bail, she reported. The assault on camera, combined with the arson evidence, he's finished. The other 12 women are filing charges too. Gabriel is out of surgery, stable but unconscious. Elena wanted to scream, at the unfairness, at the pain, at everything. Instead, another contraction hit, and the doctor announced it was time to push. Her daughter arrived at 3:47 a.m., screaming and perfect, despite being 6 weeks early. 5 pounds, 2 ounces of pure fierce life. She's small but strong, the doctor said, placing the baby on Elena's chest. No NICU needed, just monitoring. Elena stared at the tiny face, the wisps of dark hair, the impossibly small fingers that gripped hers with surprising strength. Hello, little one, she whispered. You're safe now. Margaret had tears in her eyes. She's beautiful. Have you chosen a name? Elena hadn't. She'd been so focused on survival, she hadn't thought about names. But looking at her daughter, one came immediately. Grace, she said. Grace Sterling Matthews. Margaret blinked. Sterling? He earned it, Elena said simply. He bled for her. As if summoned by his name, a nurse appeared. Mr. Sterling is awake. He's asking for Ms. Matthews. Go, Margaret said. I will watch Grace. Elena found Gabriel in the ICU, head bandaged, looking pale but alert. His eyes tracked to her immediately. The baby? Born an hour ago, healthy. Her name is Grace. Elena sat carefully beside his bed. You saved us. Basic protective response. Adrian's trajectory was clearly toward you. Gabriel. She took his hand, stopping his analysis. You have a severe concussion because you threw yourself between me and Adrian. That's not basic, that's heroic. He looked uncomfortable with the word. Heroes are fictional constructs. I just didn't want you hurt. Why going? Because he paused, seeming to process something complex. Because when you're not there, the patterns are wrong. The code doesn't compile correctly. The house is too quiet. He met her eyes. I think neurotypical people call this feeling love. Elena's breath caught. Gabriel? I know I'm not normal. I process emotions differently. I'll never be romantic in traditional ways, but I can offer stability, protection, genuine care. If that's enough, Elena kissed him, soft, careful of his injuries, but clear in its intent. When she pulled back, Gabriel looked stunned. Was that appropriate? He asked. I'm not good at reading. It was perfect, Elena said. You're perfect. Different, but perfect. A cry echoed down the hall. Grace making herself known. Gabriel's eyes widened. That's her? Want to meet her? Panic flashed across his face. I don't. Babies are fragile. What if I hold her wrong? You won't. Margaret brought Grace in, and Elena carefully placed her in Gabriel's arms, supporting him due to his injuries. He stared at the baby with the same intensity he usually reserved for code. She's so small, he whispered. But look, she's already showing preference for visual patterns. See how her eyes track? And her grip strength is exceptional for premature birth. Gabriel, are you analyzing my baby? Our baby, he corrected, then froze. I mean, if that's acceptable, I didn't mean to presume. Our baby, Elena agreed, tears streaming. Our daughter. Grace yawned, tiny fist waving, and grabbed Gabriel's finger. His expression shifted to wonder. She's holding my hand, he said unnecessarily. She knows you're safe, Elena said, just like I did. That night, as Elena dozed in a chair between Gabriel's bed and Grace's bassinet, her phone lit up with news alerts. Adrian's empire had completely collapsed. Federal charges, state charges, civil suits from all 12 women. Hamilton Pharmaceutical had cut ties. His assets were frozen. But more interesting was the sidebar story. Tech billionaire Gabriel Sterling and partner welcomed daughter after dramatic courtroom confrontation. The photo showed Gabriel holding Grace while Elena looked on. A family formed in chaos but somehow perfect. David Mitchell had given an exclusive interview detailing his role in Adrian's systematic theft. The 12 women had formed a fund to help female founders protect their intellectual property. Cassandra, her cover blown but mission complete, was being commended for bringing down a major money laundering ring. Adrian would spend decades in prison. But more importantly, he'd lost the narrative. He wasn't the successful executive anymore. He was the cautionary tale. 6 months later, Elena stood in front of a packed auditorium, Grace sleeping peacefully in a carrier against her chest. The banner behind her read, "Women in Tech, Reclaiming Our Code." "Thank you for coming," Elena began, adjusting the microphone. "6 months ago, I was homeless, pregnant, and watching my ex-husband claim my life's work as his own. Today, I'm here to launch the Sterling Matthews Foundation for Female Founders." Applause filled the room. In the front row, Gabriel sat with his tablet, simultaneously watching Elena and monitoring Grace's vital signs through the smart carrier he'd designed. This foundation, funded by the settlement from our class action suit, will provide legal protection, code authentication, and safe housing for women facing intellectual property theft and workplace abuse. She talked about the 12 women who'd come forward, about David's redemption through testimony, about Cassandra who'd risked everything to bring Adrian down. But mostly she talked about hope. "We survived because we stopped at fighting alone. We found strength in each other, in unexpected allies, in refusing to be silenced." As she spoke, Grace stirred, making tiny sounds. Elena adjusted the carrier, continuing without pause. Motherhood and mission intertwined. Afterwards, at the reception, she found Gabriel in a corner, looking overwhelmed by the crowd but determined to stay. "Too many people?" she asked. "Acceptable discomfort for important cause," he replied, then looked at Grace. "She needs feeding in approximately 12 minutes. "How do you—" "Pattern recognition. She always furrows her left eyebrow exactly 13 minutes before hunger cries." Elena laughed. 6 months of living with Gabriel had been an adjustment. Scheduled everything, analyzed patterns, brutal honesty about everything, but also complete dedication, surprising tenderness, and a love that might not look traditional but ran deeper than anything she'd known. "The lawyers called," Gabriel said. "Adrian's attempting appeal from prison." Elena's stomach tightened. Even from federal prison, Adrian cast a shadow. "Probability of success is less than 2%, Gabriel continued. "But he's also filed for paternity rights. He can file. Won't succeed. I've already started adoption proceedings." Gabriel paused. "If that's acceptable, I should have asked first." "Gabriel Sterling, are you asking to be Grace's legal father?" "I'm stating intention and seeking consent." He pulled out a ring box, then seemed to realize the implications. "This isn't— I mean it is, but not because of social conventions. Statistical analysis shows married couples have stronger legal standing in adoption cases." Elena stared at the ring, simple, elegant, with an inscription she could barely make out. "Hello World, the first program every coder writes. Are you proposing via statistical analysis?" "No, well yes, partially." Gabriel took a breath, visibly collecting himself. "I'm proposing because when you're not there, nothing functions correctly. Because Grace's laugh creates the same dopamine response in my brain as solving complex algorithms. Because you trusted me when I didn't know I could be trusted." "Yes," Lena said simply. "I haven't finished my prepared statement." "Yes, Gabriel." He slipped the ring on her finger with the same precision he did everything. Then unexpectedly, he pulled her into a hug, still awkward with physical affection, but learning. Adrian won't stop, he warned. Prison just means he has more time to plan. Then we'll be ready, Elena said. All of us. Looking around the room, the 12 women chatting and laughing, Margaret bouncing someone else's baby, Cassandra now dating David Mitchell in the plot twist nobody saw coming, organizing legal documents. Elena realized they'd built something Adrian never had, genuine community. His empire had been built on theft and fear. Theirs was built on trust and protection. Grace woke right on Gabriel's predicted schedule, and Elena excused herself to feed her. In the quiet nursing room, she whispered to her daughter about the world they were building. One where brilliant women wouldn't have to fight alone, where different kinds of minds, like Gabriel's, were valued, where love could look like statistical analysis and still be real. Her phone buzzed. A notification from the prison. Adrian had sent a letter. Elena deleted it unread. Some ghosts deserved to stay buried, but that night as she nursed Grace while Gabriel coded beside them, his presence soothing in its constant click of keys, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that Adrian's story wasn't over. He'd lost everything, yes, but wounded predators were the most dangerous. And somewhere in a federal cell, Adrian Matthews was planning his return. 1 year later, the letter arrived that changed everything. Elena was in her new office, the health app finally launched under her own name. Investors lined up after the publicity of Adrian's downfall. Gabriel worked from his desk nearby, their system perfected, shared space, parallel work, Grace and her playpen between them babbling at her toys. Registered mail, Margaret announced it, looking concerned. Elena signed for it, her blood running cold at the return address. Federal Correctional Institution. Inside, Adrian's handwriting, still perfectly controlled. Did you think prison walls could hold me? My lawyers found interesting discrepancies in Agent Wells's investigation. Entrapment, they're calling it. Case being reviewed. See you soon. Impossible, Gabriel said, reading over her shoulder. But his fingers were already flying across his keyboard, pulling up legal databases. The news broke that afternoon. Adrian Matthews' conviction under federal review for potential FBI misconduct. Cassandra called within minutes. It's bullshit, she said bluntly, but Adrian's lawyers found a technicality. One form I filed incorrectly during undercover work. They're claiming it invalidates the entire investigation. How long until review? 3 weeks. If they overturn the federal conviction, the state charges get complicated. He could be out in months instead of decades. Elena felt the familiar panic rising. Grace, now walking, toddled over and grabbed her leg. Mama, up! She lifted her daughter, drawing strength from the solid weight of her. They'd built so much in the past year. The foundation had helped 40 women recover their stolen code. The health app had 2 million users. She and Gabriel had married in a simple courthouse ceremony that made legal sense and emotional sense in equal measure. We need the others, Elena said. All 12 women. If Adrian gets out, already calling them, Gabriel interrupted, showing his screen with a group video call connecting. The women's faces filled the monitor. CEOs, coders, engineers, all survivors of Adrian's predation. They'd become a force in tech, their collective power growing. We heard, Sarah, the first victim, said grimly. He's not getting away with this. But if the federal case falls apart, then we go public, completely public, every detail, every assault, every theft. This from Jennifer, who'd lost her robotics company to Adrian 5 years ago. We were quiet during the trial to avoid victim blaming, but if he's getting out, we burn him publicly. Gabriel pulled up statistics. Public opinion influences parole boards 73% of the time in high-profile cases. If we control narrative, we control outcome, Elena finished. They planned through the night, a coordinated media blast, interviews with major outlets, a documentary filmmaker who'd been following their story. Adrian might manipulate the legal system, but he couldn't manipulate the truth when 12 women spoke it simultaneously. 3 days before the review hearing, Elena sat for her first national interview. Grace played in the background, visible but protected, a reminder of what they were fighting for. Adrian Matthews stole more than code, Elena told the camera. He stole confidence, safety, futures. But here's what he didn't steal. Our voices, and now we're using them. The interview went viral within hours. Hatched Adrian knew trending globally. The other women's stories followed, a tsunami of testimony that no PR firm could counter. But Adrian had one last card. The night before the hearing, a video appeared on every major platform. Deepfake technology had evolved, and someone had created footage of Elena supposedly admitting to lying, to framing Adrian, or to being unstable. It was sophisticated enough that even experts needed time to verify it was fake. He's trying to muddy waters, Gabriel said, working frantically to trace the source. Create doubt before tomorrow's hearing. Elena watched the fake version of herself destroying her own credibility and felt rage replace fear. No, she said, we end this, now. She went live on Gabriel's platform, the one with 100 million followers. No script, no preparation, just truth. This is Elena Matthews Sterling, she said, Grace on her hip. That video is fake, like everything Adrian creates. But you want to know what's real? This. She pulled up her screen, showing the original code for the health app, timestamps from years before Adrian claimed creation. What's real is 12 women whose innovations Adrian stole. One by one, the other women joined the live stream, each showing their stolen work, their evidence, their truth. What's real is Gabriel Sterling with a concussion because Adrian attacked a pregnant woman. Gabriel appeared on the stream, the scars still visible on his temple. What's real is my daughter, who deserves a world where her code won't be stolen because of her gender. Grace waved at the camera and provided the camera, babbling hi to the millions watching. The stream hit 10 million viewers, then 20, then 50. But the crescendo came when David Mitchell joined, unauthorized, unplanned. I helped Adrian steal from Elena, he said simply. I was a coward, but I kept records of every crime, and I'm done being silent. He shared his screen, emails, recordings, proof of Adrian ordering the deepfake, planning everything from prison. Adrian Matthews thinks he's untouchable, David continued. But he's wrong, because he created us, this alliance of people he hurt, and we're done letting him win. The hearing the next day was a formality. The judge, facing overwhelming public scrutiny and new evidence of Adrian's continued criminal activity from prison, denied the appeal. Additional charges were filed for the deepfake, the harassment, the attempted manipulation of justice. Adrian Matthews would never leave prison. As Elena walked out of the courthouse, Grace in Gabriel's arms, surrounded by the 12 women who'd become her sisters in arms, she felt something she hadn't in years, complete freedom. It's over, she said to Gabriel. Probability of Adrian causing future harm, 0.3%, Gabriel calculated, then caught her look. I mean, yes, it's over. Grace reached for Elena, and as she took her daughter, Elena realized the truth. It wasn't over, it was beginning. The real work, the building, the creating without fear. That evening, as she nursed Grace while Gabriel coded beside them, his rhythmic typing a lullaby she'd grown to love, Elena opened her laptop to find thousands of messages. Women sharing their stories, asking for help, finding strength in what they'd built. The Sterling Matthews Foundation website had crashed from traffic. The health app had gained 1 million users in one day. And 12 women who'd once been victims were now running an empire built on truth instead of theft. You should respond to the interview requests, Gabriel said, showing her his tablet. 60 minutes, BBC, Netflix documentary. Tomorrow, Elena said, closing the laptop. Tonight we just be. Gabriel nodded, understanding. He'd learned to read her needs, just as she'd learned to read his. Their love might not look like storybooks, but it was real, built on trust and protection, and the strange magic of that desperate hug at a gala that changed everything. Grace yawned, milk-drunk and content. Gabriel's typing resumed, creating something new, and Elena sat between them, her little family forged in chaos, thinking about the stranger she'd hugged to hide her pregnancy, unaware he'd become her home. Adrian was wrong about one thing above all. Elena hadn't survived without him. She'd thrived. And in a federal prison cell, Adrian Matthews sat alone, his empire dust, his legacy rewritten as cautionary tale, finally understanding that he'd created his own destruction the day he underestimated a pregnant woman's courage and a quiet billionaire's capacity for love.